Hi, I want to welcome Huenu Solsana, and she's going to tell us all about her new platform, Oracle, that is for channeling and where you can get channeling services. So, welcome, Huenu. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to get to talk to you. We've been planning this for a few weeks, haven't we?
We have. Thank you so much, Vivian, for having me. It's so awesome to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. So, can you tell us about your platform? Firstly, can you spell Oracle for everyone because it is spelt in a different way from the English way of spelling it?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't feel like competing with the Oracle Corporation. And also, I thought this was cooler. It's spelled Orykl, Oracle, and it's just oracle.com. And yeah, as you said, we are a platform for channelers and channeling, all things channeling. But what we've just launched with is one-on-one sessions that people can book with channelers to have conversations with the spirit world, basically. So that you can ask any question about your life or an existential question and get some answers that you can't really get anywhere else. So the idea is to give people this opportunity and really empower them with this information, uh, to find out a bit more about who we really are. Yeah.
So, does that mean that you have been doing channeling yourself for people?
No, myself, no. So how I came about this whole thing, maybe I'll just tell my story because it's a good way to explain it.
Yes.
Um, so I kind of started my spiritual journey, I would say, strictly in around 2009. That's because my brother passed away unexpectedly. And I think I was always sort of quite spiritual and very open-minded before, but I was going about my life, doing my thing. And, when he died, we were very, very close. So I started asking those questions, what happens when you die? What happens to our soul? Where does it go? Do we have a soul? And, what is this whole thing really? And I also wanted to connect with him. I never actually went to somebody to connect with him, but I just wanted to feel that he was still there. And so I really I sort of dove deep into the spiritual world. I started reading books about life after death, that led into Eckhart Tolle and I mean, all the classics really, and then a lot of meditation. Then I got into yoga, and then I did lots of courses, and then it just kept going, right? And in amongst all of those things that I was doing, or that I did through the years, I came across channeling. And I would say that maybe out of all of the things that I'd done, that was the weirdest of the lot. I mean, when somebody first told me about it, I was like, oh, come on, that's just crazy. I don't know, I just thought it was a bit far-fetched at the time. But I looked into it and I started listening to a channeler called Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, an entity called Bashar. That's an extra dimensional being, or you could say is an alien or extraterrestrial, which again, the first time I heard this, I was like, come on, guys. But yeah, I mean, if you listen to Bashar, you don't know if you know him, but he's fantastic, and the information that Bashar delivers is wonderful, and it really is based on who are we, who are we as human beings, what are we doing here, living this life. And I really got into that. Then I got into Abraham Hicks, who's the lady, or Esther Hicks, that channels Abraham, who
Yes,
the movie The Secret is based on, the law of
that's
attraction. I
right.
mean, most people know that. And that is just really wonderful information. And anyway, one day I went to somebody's house. They were hosting a channeler, and there were about 20 of us. And we each got to ask one question. It was a live channeling this girl was doing. And they were very hard questions, in my opinion, like, why is there wrong or right? What happens after death? Why these big existential questions? Why are we here? Who are we? And she answered them so, so beautifully. I was like, this
Oh,
this is the real deal. This really rings true to me. It was the same thing for everybody in the room. And then she said that she did private sessions. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. So I had a private session with her. And this is now, let's see, this is about 5 years ago now. Yeah, something like that, a bit more maybe. It was amazing. Loved the session. but her website wasn't that great. It was just kind of confusing, and she just, if I hadn't seen her in this other session, I probably wouldn't have booked a session with her. And I really wanted to help her because I thought she was so amazing. And I remember at the time saying, because I'm a business person, I've done many businesses in my life. I'm an entrepreneur through and through, right? And I wanted to give her some feedback and say, listen, why don't you do this and that? Your message is not clear. Anyway, I never got around to doing that. But that kind of stayed with me. And years later, or a couple of years later, I was getting ready to sell my business. I was pregnant, and I just knew that my next business after that had to be to really help the world. I mean, I really, really wanted to help humanity, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In a big way. And I was like, my businesses had been sort of localized. I live in Cape Town, and I was thinking about an animal shelter or something like that. I'm like, this is too small. I really want to do something with global impact. And I was just sitting in meditation. I mean, I still had my business. I was sitting in meditation because I do meditate a lot. And yeah, and I was just sitting there, and this idea just came to me. This had been two years after I'd had that session with this channeler. So I was sitting there, and the name came to me. It was like an O that was spinning. It was coming towards me. It was the word Oracle, and everything that you pretty much see now in Oracle came on that first night. And I had already been doing automatic writing, which is a form of channeling, if you will, where you just, sort of clear your head and connect with your heart to that part of you that's really you, right? To your higher self, you could say. And I would just let whatever would come through flow. And because I type pretty fast, and I don't have to look at my hands, I would just type, and it was really cool information. And this idea as well came through. And so I started typing, and I just thought, this is great. And quite frankly, I haven't looked back since. And I can't remember what your question was. But
well, you answered
that's kind of how I got started.
You answered it fantastically. I just sat here like mesmerized by your speaking. It was fantastic. And of course, I picked up now that you're in Cape Town, and that's Cape Town, South Africa. Is that correct?
That's right.
And do you know that's where I'm from? I'm from Cape Town too.
I know, I heard that. Oh my gosh.
And it seems like we even went to the same high school, even though many years apart.
That is the weirdest thing. I know. Such a cool high school. You will remember the master.
It's a small world in so many wonderful ways, as well as in not so wonderful ways. Huenu, I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between channeling and other psychic readings?
Yeah, okay, thank you for asking that, because I think a lot of people do get that confused. So
yes.
So being psychic or having psychic abilities just means that you've got a sixth sense, right? We've got five senses. We operate in this physical world with those five senses. But as soon as you've got a sixth sense, we call that psychic. And now we all have that. I mean, really, everybody, even the people that think that they don't, they do. And that it's our intuition, when you get a feeling for something, or it's just a knowing, or you might close your eyes and see something. So everybody's kind of, so the psychic umbrella is quite wide. But when we refer to like a psychic, and somebody says, I'm a psychic, they're using what they call the clairs to pick up information about you, and sometimes information that may come in the future. So they might close their eyes and just see something, they might be thinking about you and just see something, they might say, oh, well, I see, a boat or water, or I can see you traveling, so there could be a visual thing. Or they could have just a knowing, they just, and it happens to me sometimes, maybe to somebody listening, you just know, you can't explain how you know, but you just know. Or some people hear things, some people even smell and taste things, but essentially they get a feeling, okay? And sometimes it's very strong, because like everything is just practice, right? Some practice, and also some people are naturally good at it. It's like singing, they say everybody can sing, but good luck trying to get me to sing. Some people are just naturally good singers, and it's the same thing.
Some people have a gift. It's singing, drawing, everything. Some people have a gift But
Yeah.
everyone can do it at least to some extent. And for everyone, it's actually a part of life, isn't it? It's
Yes.
integral to the way that we live. But some people are gifted enough or trained enough to become
Yes.
professional at it. So
Yes.
there's that
And if you
difference.
really want to train, you can totally train, even if you're not very, naturally gifted, you can train yourself to be, if you really have the willingness, and look, there's a whole process of how to do it, whatever,
That's
but you
right.
can do it. But anyway,
It's
that's a
interest.
psychic.
It's interest and motivation, isn't it? So if you're interested and you're motivated, you will be able to develop it. It's
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
yes,
like any
yes,
skill, right? Like any skill. Okay,
correct.
so that's a psychic. And people go to psychics because usually they have a problem or they would like to know something. I know as women, like a lot of my friends might go to psychics, like, will I find the man of my life, right? They want to know this.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah, is he coming?
Is there tall, dark, and handsome in my future?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's fine. And I think it can be very helpful. However, channeling is different, and I prefer it because channeling they're also psychic because they're also like tuning into something else. But with
Yes.
channeling specifically, they are tuning into the spirit world. And specifically, so sorry, my alarm. I have to tell you something because it's quite interesting. At 6 o'clock every single day, and I've done this for the last 8 years, I take a photo. So this is my
Oh,
6 o'clock alarm. I want to take a quick photo of
please.
this.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's very cool because,
I
I've got,
love it.
and then I've got my 6 o'clock file, and then it's always like a weird photo. And now, like this photo, I'll be like, oh, when I did that,
Wonderful.
video with Vivien. So it's very
That's
cool.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Oh,
So with channelers, they're able to tune into the spirit world. So they what they do is they're able to raise their vibration, and they lock in with the vibration of a higher vibrating being or energy field. Now, there is a lot in the spirit world that we just cannot see.
yes,
I often compare it to, like, think about all the animals and all the plants and everything that exists in this physical world.
yes,
Just like that, there's all these different beings and entities and energies that are in spirit world that are not physical, because remember, we're living a reality that is a physical reality, but that's one reality. There's many different realities or many different dimensions of what
yes,
exists. And they're able to tap into a different dimension where there are different beings or energies residing, and they kind of lock in, and it's really a telepathic communication. There's usually an agreement before they come into this life that they're going to do this, that they're going to have this interaction. And that being or the energy field, because often it's not necessarily a specific being, it can be, a collective or just an energy field or just kind of source energy. And they're able to channel that and have that speak through them. Now, the word channeling is quite wide, because when people are in the zone and they're like painting or doing music or dancing, or even it could be doing anything, quite frankly, but when you're really in the zone, you're not even thinking, you're just really enjoying it, you're also channeling, right? That's also called channeling. But the channeling we do is called voice channeling. So these guys, these channelers, are able to tap into that energy and have that energy speak through them. Now, there's 3 different types of channels. I don't want to complicate it, but most of them, the ones that we have, are trance channelers, which means that their personality just takes a step back and they allow the spirit, whoever they're channeling, to speak through them. So when you're talking to the entity that they channel, you're speaking directly to them. So now it could be, for example, what can get channeled. You have a lot of archangels are channeled, ascended masters, including Jesus. You can have extra dimensional beings, either specific ones or like a group, a collective, they call it. You could channel Gaia, you could channel like a lot of plants, the elementals. It's crazy, but like fairies and gnomes and these things actually do exist in a different kind of dimension. So it's quite weird if it's the first time you hear about this. And sometimes I hear myself explain this to my friends who are like totally not into this. And I'm like, guys, I do get it, because the first time I heard it, it's like a bit weird. But the more you start like understanding this and looking into it, it's just about opening yourself up to more possibilities. You know, there is just a lot that exists that we just can't see. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's, you know, it doesn't exist. And in fact, I believe that the eye can only pick up, and I could be totally wrong, but something like 10%, I think, I have to Google this, of the color spectrum, and the ear can only hear like a very small percentage of the sounds that actually are existing all around us right now. And
That's
so in
right.
the same token, there's a lot more. So these people can tap into these different energy fields, and because they're all higher vibrating things, okay, they're kind of closer to love, they're closer to the truth, and they can see things from a perspective that we can't, and they can know
That's
things
right.
about us,
Yes.
like past lives, like our contracts of our soul, like when we came here, you know, why is it that we came here? Some blockages that we may have from other childhood that we could never remember, even if we went to the psychologist 20 times, or again from previous lives, or ancestral blockages that we could have. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff that, you know, therapy or even you trying, like you can't fix certain things in your life. Whereas channeling can get in there and like either remove blockages or do healing, and also empower you to teach you who it is that you really are, help you find your purpose. And that's why I love it so much, because I think it's super beneficial and so empowering, and also pretty fascinating. I don't know if I answered your question.
You're totally answering the question, and I'm fascinated. You've actually got me a little bit speechless. You're so fluent and so good at speaking that I don't want to interrupt you, even though I do have questions. But you've given me a chance, so I'm going to ask the next question now.
Okay.
That is, what's the
Go for it.
difference between channeling and
Oh,
mediumship?
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you again for us. So people get very confused. So there's three. There's the psychics, there's the channelers, and and there's the mediums.
Yes, that's
The
right.
mediums are, I don't know if I could call it combo, but a medium speaks with deceased people.
Yes.
That's so they will, again, like the psychics, they could either see something or hear. They might see the person, they might hear them, they might just feel a lot of them just feel the person, they feel the energy, because it's all energy. Remember, you know, this body is just a physical body, it's gonna die, but the soul that remains, and that's energy. And so they pick up on the energy, right? And so they don't, like channelers, or trans channelers anyway, will speak in the first person. They will say, I am Archangel Michael, I am here, or we are the Pleiadian collective, and you speak directly with them. Now, with a medium, they will always say, oh, I see your grandfather, I see your brother, sister, they're telling me to tell you this, or they're showing me this, you know, what could it be? Or I get the feeling that they, you know, so they communicate that way. And it's also, that's also super helpful. And I mean, I've lost somebody, as I said, very close to me. And people, you know, it's wonderful to get that assurance that they're okay, that they really are okay, and that they're there, and that they're, you know, still part of our experience, even though we really miss them physically. They're still with us, right? And I communicate with my brother a lot, and I just know without a shadow of a doubt that he's with me when we communicate. So it's pretty cool, you know. It's not as good as having them, but it's just it feels really good to know that
No,
they're still there.
I
So
know
that's
what you're talking about, because my brother died at the age of 37. That was in 1990. And then
wow. My brother also 37. Yeah.
also, and actually my brother was murdered in Cape Town.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was.
That's why you left.
No, it's not why I left, but we did leave
Okay.
the following year. We already had plans to leave, but it certainly
Oh my
confirmed
goodness.
that we didn't feel safe in South Africa.
Right.
But then our son, unfortunately, he died. It's actually exactly 11 years. He died on January the 4th, 2013. He just suddenly, it was a heart condition that we didn't know about. It was ventricular fibrillation. And he just simply passed. You know, he was at dinner one night and then he collapsed, and that was it. But we play games in the car together, and he's come through in so many ways. This is my son Aiden, and
Yeah.
it's been extraordinary because it's confusing. You know,
Mm,
I'm talking to him every day. I spend more time with
mm,
him than when he was in physical form. And then I have to
yeah.
remember, no, but he's actually passed. And it's a
Mm,
very,
mm,
very interesting dynamic to go back and
yeah.
forth between being present with him and then remembering that in one particular plane, on the physical plane, he is
Yeah.
not here with us in physical form anymore, because his presence and his spirit are very, very, very strong and with us all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing when Neil had a medical condition, and this would have been the year, it was a year after, so this would have been in January 2014. We went to the
Yeah.
doctor and we were awaiting very important news about the result of a medical test. And the medical test came out in Neil's favor that the condition had not progressed to that
Mm,
particular point. And when we
mm.
came out of that appointment, there we each had phone calls from Aidan's cell phone. This is unbelievable story.
Oh,
His
wow.
phone,
Wow.
his cell phone, which was disconnected because we
Mm,
closed that account, but his cell
wow.
phone called our cell phones. I had 2 calls from him, and Neil had
Yeah.
3 phone calls from Aidan's no longer connected phone
Wow.
number. This is like an undeniable event
Right.
that happened to us, and
Totally.
only one of them.
Totally.
I could
Yeah.
tell you so many stories, but the thing is,
Yeah.
it goes back to what you were saying, Wenu, about uh, just because we can't see it doesn't mean it
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And this is
Mm,
just a scientific fact, and yet we are the ones being told we're unscientific. It's so interesting
right.
to me
Right.
that there
Yeah.
is this incredible paradox and
Yeah.
contradiction and hypocrisy about
Yeah.
these different things, because we know that just because we can't see it or hear it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just
Yeah.
means that as human beings, we've been given a brain that kind of governs, and senses
Yeah.
that govern what we can and can't perceive. And it's up to us, if we want to expand somewhat beyond that. Of course, we'll never
Mm,
have freedom from this brain until we also pass, and it's a
mm,
governor. It is designed to limit us. And
yeah.
that's one of the things I spoke to Aiden about since he's crossed over. And he just laughed at me. He said, Mom, there's no way you're going to be able to understand expanded consciousness. There's just no way.
Right.
You're set inside your
Yeah.
brain. That's what you have to work with. So you can
Yeah.
expand a little bit, but you cannot fathom what's out
Yeah.
there. But I was given a little
Yeah.
tour of some of what's out
Well,
there.
the people that have NDEs, near-death experiences,
That's right.
they come back
Yes,
and they go, I can't explain it. It's just, this unconditional love, this whole thing.
that's right.
We will all get to experience it in due course. I'm kind
Yes,
of looking forward to it. It sounds so funny. People say, I say to people, I'm looking forward to dying. But we also chose to come here, which I think we should remember. We
yes,
did to come
yes.
here, so it's our election, and it is. Sometimes I compare it to a video game. Like I don't play any video games, but
But you can
let's
still
just say you're
compare.
playing a video game. Let's just imagine. So if the video game is really easy and you just like, there's nothing for you to do and you're just kind of walking along and you get to the end and it just keeps going, it's boring,
That's
right?
right.
So you put a little challenge and you're like, oh, okay, that's hard. Like, oh, I got over the challenge. Yes, I did it, and you get good at that and you're like, okay, let's make it harder, like, because it's not a
Go
challenge
up a
anymore.
notch.
And you keep going up and up and up and up, right? So you get really
Yes,
good. And I think it's kind of the same thing. We come here to life to have this experience, like to overcome the challenge. Now, what's the challenge? At the beginning could be somebody at school telling you that, I don't know, you're like a tough guy, and like, oh, that was horrible, but then you get over it and you realize, hey, no, actually, I'm not that. And anyway, life throws us all these little challenges, and it's kind of like a game. I think it's kind of like a game where you just have to overcome it and try and feel good despite this really hard thing that may have happened to you. And if you can do it, wow. I mean, some of the most enlightened people are those people that went through like really, really rough lives and they were able
yes,
to overcome it. And it's that sense of like, wow. And when you have that perspective as well, it's like almost like the further back you pull the bungee, the further forwards you can go. So sometimes it's good to know that, all these difficult things that happen to us have a reason for being, and learn the
No,
lesson,
I know. If I can just interrupt you and just say, as you're speaking and saying that, then I remember I have one student in my classes, he jumped out of an airplane and his parachute didn't open. And he's here to tell the tale. That was over 20 years ago now. He said he bounced
Yeah.
high up in the air, people who were watching. And of course, he broke a lot of bones. And of course, he
Yeah.
was told he'll never walk again. And he
Right.
does. And it's just extraordinary. But he was in a class in the classroom with one of the other students who'd also been paralyzed from the neck down and had also been told that she would never walk again. I think she fell off a ladder. I think theirs was a domestic accident. So I had these two people in the class talking to each other about these absolutely amazing life events. It was unbelievable just to listen to them going back and forth. And you just realize life is much more complex than we can possibly imagine and understand, and why these different things happen. And of course, we all have to have adventures. Otherwise, what did we come for? We came to develop something, we came to learn something. Why else? So we have to grab the opportunities with both hands, is how I feel about it. And it's just as you say, just like the video game. And even watching a movie or reading a story, it can't just be descriptive. Something has to happen.
Yeah.
There has to be a plot.
Otherwise, there's no point of coming here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's go back to your platform, Orykl, and let's just talk about what's there and who's there and how you chose the people to be there. How about that?
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, as I said, my intention was to create this platform because I feel that it's so beneficial to have a channeling session. Again, they explain these things that we've just been talking about, but also very personalized, because they can zoom out of our lives and see our soul's purpose. So we offer one-on-one sessions that are 1 hour long, and we've got different channels to choose from. At the moment, we've got something like, I think, 17 channelers. And they all come from very different backgrounds. Some of them have really studied this, some of them since they were very young. Some of them had NDEs, and it just happened from one day to the next. For the most part, they tend to be very intuitive people. But anyway, they have a wide spectrum, and they channel different entities and beings. Some of them are, so from ascended masters to archangels, extra dimensional beings, a bit of everything. And so when you go to the platform Orykl, you can find out a bit more about channeling and what are the benefits of having a session. And then you can browse through our channelers. There's little videos for each one, and you can read up about their story, how they came to do channeling, what they channel, and a little bit about the session, which is pretty much very similar with all of them. A session starts with you meeting the channeler. It's on a video. It's not Zoom, but it's like Zoom. And they usually, will break the ice with a couple of questions, and then they'll give you a chance to ask any questions about the process if you have any questions. You don't have to tell them anything, by the way, about you or any of your questions. And then they'll go into the channeling state. And some of them, it's pretty quick. They'll just do a breath or two, and the entity will come through. Some of them maybe take up to like a minute. And then you'll be speaking directly with whoever it is that they channel. Very often, I would say maybe 80% of the time, there will be an initial message that will already be there for you, which very often answers a bunch of questions that you had without even asking them, because they already know. But there'll usually be an initial message. Sometimes there's some healing, which they'll often ask you if it's okay with you that they do some healing for you, because it's energetic healing. And then they'll open it up for you to ask any questions. And we normally suggest that people do have some questions written down, between 5 and 10 questions, in order of priority. So often people do go with like an issue, perhaps it's a recurring destructive pattern that you seem to like not be able to get yourself out of, or maybe it's something to do with your relationships or your health or whatever it might be, right? You can ask anything. It's like absolutely anything you want, and they will answer it for you. They will very often give you tips on what to do, sort of action things that you can actually take after the session. And so the conversation goes, you can let it flow. You can just like follow your questions. We record the session. It's a voice recording, not a video recording. So after the hour is finished, you'll end the conversation, and you will get the next day you get an email with the voice recording as well as a summary. Actually, the platform automatically through AI gives you a written record of what happened during the session, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing
Very
what
cool.
AI can do these days. But it'll give you what was discussed and action points for you to take, and then a summary of what was discussed.
Wow.
We also follow up with an email to kind of help you integrate this information and again do something with it. And the recording is amazing because there is so much that gets said in that hour. We actually say to people, don't write it down, because it's better
Right.
to listen more with your heart. I tend to listen with
Yes.
my eyes and really sort of take it, and it's recorded anyway. And yeah, you can listen to it as many times as you want. You always like find something new, like, oh, this is so good, so good.
That's right.
And it's, as I said, it's very empowering. It's really, yeah, it's wonderful. I mean,
Excellent. Wow. And how much does the service cost typically?
so it depends from channeler to channeler. I would say, I think on our platform, the cheapest is $90. And the most expensive at the moment, or could be wrong, maybe it's like 333. I remember there's one that's charging 333. They're all wonderful. I'll be honest with you. It's not about the price. It's not like the more expensive is better than the cheapest. It's just what they feel like charging. And I would say if for people, like the best way to choose, honestly, is just go with your gut, because that is the best one. So either you will have, oh, I like this one, that's a good sign, or read up about each one and just go the one that feels right for you. I mean, if you're on a budget, then you can go for the cheaper one, but they're all amazing. So you're also asking me how I choose them. So for me, the most important thing about Orykl is that we are a credible platform, because as you can imagine, it's not, it's very left field, right?
Yes.
So it's super important that everybody here is the real deal, and that they're great channelers, and that you can trust everyone. So honestly, I have signed my name, to
You
each of these
endorse
channels.
each and every one of them. I understand. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And so how we choose them is that we look at their online content quite a lot, and at their videos and what they're posting and all of that. And once we like them online, then we interview them. So now it's a little bit different than before, because now they're kind of coming to us. Before we
Yes.
were looking for them.
Yes.
But anyway, we interview them. I interview them personally, just first without channeling. And then we have a full channeling session that they do for me. And I have to say, I've been doing it for years now. I'm very good at discerning, who's, I guess, a good channeler or bad channeler. And what happens with channeling is that sometimes some of the personality of the person can get in a bit of the message. Usually it's the ego, that gets in, but it's also practice. You got to practice so that you really can put your personality aside, and
Yes.
you
Yes.
know and so I'm very good at telling whether it's very clean and clear channel, or whether there's a bit of the personality in there. And I most certainly don't invite everyone on the platform at all. I mean, I haven't invited a bunch of channelers that are supposed to be very more well-known, not like famous, but the more well-knowners. But yeah, that's just me, and I just choose them based on what I feel, and
When
yeah,
it
as I said,
comes to well-known, I have learned over my lifetime that you want to get the people that are coming up to their peak performance.
yeah.
The well-known people and the people that are already at their peak, they charge a lot, and they're on the downward slope now in any case. So what you're saying is you're looking for the up and coming people. It's like a wave, isn't it? And that's the
Yeah.
wave that we
Yeah.
want to ride, is the one that's coming up now, not the one that's on the downward slope. So
I
I
also
appreciate that
choose,
you're discerning in that way.
Yeah, and I choose channelers that are very pure in intention. So for
Yes.
me, this platform, in as much as obviously I want to make money and everybody wants to make money, that's fine. I can't do something,
You
but
have
that's
to
not
earn
my
a
intention
living. That's
for
right.
having.
They do. That's
Yeah,
just a
my intention
basic.
is really to help people and
Yes.
to empower people, to tell them who
Yes.
they really are
Yes.
and to teach them that. And I want people that are
Yes.
aligned with that mission. And so I choose people based on the purity of their intention. If they're there just to make money, it could also work as long as they also have this thing that they want to help people. But more often, like the channels that are on Oracle, I can tell you that money is definitely secondary to, or I would say all of them.
To the work
They
itself.
they're there for the
Yes.
right intentions, and that's very
Yeah.
important for me.
And how old is Oracle? It's a new platform, isn't it?
We're a baby. We're just a little
Little
baby.
baby,
We're
baby.
like we can't even. We're not even crawling. Um, we are 2 months old.
Two
Yeah,
months old. Wow.
yeah,
Well, I tell you what, Wenu, I think this is a fantastic thing that you're doing. I like the way that I got contacted and I got connected with you. You obviously are working to reach the whole world, and
yeah,
it's an amazing service that you're putting together. And to have that process of taking a look. It's not, you're not just,
yeah,
you are checking and endorsing the people on your platform. And that's very powerful. It's very different from going onto Google and looking up for a
mm,
channeling service and then just having to decide on the basis of somebody's website whether you want to work with them or not. This is something different. This is a platform
yeah,
that can be trusted because you've actually checked, and you've checked the intention and the motivation of
mm,
the people that are providing the service, and you're working as a team by doing that.
yeah,
I think that teamwork, that's what we're about, aren't we? We're trying to team
yeah,
up with the spirit dimensions and the other dimensions. And so to team up here on the physical plane in order to reach those other planes of existence, I think that's a
yeah.
phenomenal service that you're providing. And I hope it goes
Thank you.
very, very, very well. I really, really
Thank you so
do.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I could just say, we are doing other things in the channel. We're gonna start channeling courses to teach people how to channel
Oh,
their higher self. Yeah. And then also how to channel, other beings. And we'll also do advanced courses. So some of our channels, we're actually getting together to do that. And I'm glad you mentioned teamwork as well. We've got 4 pillars. It's very corporate, but we do have 4 pillars. One is honesty. That's like a number one. 2 is benevolence. So I want everything to be from a place of love and without judgment. This is like for those people that are ready, but it's a very loving energy. And the other one's teamwork. So we work very much as a team. It's just me and them, and we're all co-creating these like courses and so on. And even my staff, we're very, very team focused. And the last one is spirit, because they are very much with us. This is also a way of the spirit world to kind of talk to the world through this platform and these channelers. So those are
exactly.
like our
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
our
yes.
4 pillars.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for talking to us about this. Thank you so much for
it's a
giving your
pleasure.
time and also for creating this platform. I know it must be a huge amount of work on your part,
Yeah.
and you sound so motivated and you're bringing something special to the world. Thank you very, very much for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you and the time here. Thank you so much.